Morning, Reese. Thanks for coming out, joining us here on our Founders Series, and being willing to come out and tell your story about what you've been up to in business, what you've been up to in life. We were just talking about when the first time that you and I met, sometime over the past year at one of your events.
Yeah,
I think it was. You probably have that happen all the time, and you have an amazing memory. I couldn't remember it, but your memory's better than I.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's you've been a great friend to me, and I think highly of your family and what you're building in business and in life, raising your kids. And you're one of those special people of shared values and similar perspective and outlook on the world of where purpose resides and where value resides. And so one of the things we talk about here on the show of the journey of the entrepreneur, the challenges of the business owner, sometimes where that cutoff line is between being an entrepreneur and being a small business owner, and it's nebulous and gray. It doesn't really matter, but that journey of the leader, the founder, his vision, his purpose, and what's the path to success for them, which takes many different shapes and forms of how they define that. And sometimes it's a hard path through commercialization of a product or technology. Other times it's more of a soft, qualitative path through relationships and people of a social network that's being built. And one of the things I've observed, post the COVID era, and even just at a bigger macro perspective on Western culture, is that the individualism that has grown and grown inside of the West has been very detrimental to our success.
I agree.
And we didn't start that way as a country. We have found our way to a highly individualistic world. And that brings with it a set of social, psychological, commercial challenges that when you try to unwind that ball of yarn, we find that we have a pretty big knot there in many cases. And so I've been very inspired by your take on life, in the sense that you, from the moment I met you, you seem to understand the foundational need for community, for relationships, and how people help other people in life. And I think you're doing something fantastically unique. So that's why I reached out to you and asked you, hey, come on the show. I'd love to help you tell your story a little bit clearer, a little bit wider to other people, frankly, that need to meet you. I really believe there's a whole group of people out there that will be changed and impacted by the work that you do. So if you could just, you're the managing partner of Columbus Venture Partners.
Yep.
For 17 years.
About 17 years. Yeah.
17 years. And could you tell us how you got to where you're at and what you've been up to, and a little bit of your backstory?
Sure. No, yeah, it's definitely an interesting backstory. It's probably not the traditional way, simply because, I did grow up broke. We had $20 a week for groceries. We drove an 82 Chevette. We just, we're getting food from food pantries. And my dad was a factory worker, passed away of cancer when I was in high school. My mom was a temporary worker, secretary, hourly kind of, worker, employee. And so just had no family money, and I couldn't afford to go on to college. Went to Columbus State Community College with low-income grants and financial aid, and could not afford to go on to a four-year college. And so at that time, my whole family had jobs, but all of them, were living check to check. And I just said, I've got to own my own business somehow. And so I just started asking people for money, going around. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have credit. I didn't have cash. I didn't have anything, no experience. And I just started asking people, give me money. I want to buy a business. And believe it or not, at 21 years old, it actually worked. I found a guy who said, I trust you. I like you. Gave me $300,000 on a handshake and said, go purchase whatever you want. We'll split it 50-50, no salary for me. And if I pick a business that's not good, of course, then we're both not going to make any money. And so I went and bought a tanning salon in New Albany. And so a little side note is that my mother grew up Amish in Plain City.
Oh, really?
Speaking Pennsylvania Dutch, churning butter on a farm, maiden name Mast, and my grandmother's maiden name Hostetler. And then my dad, black guy, Afro, Cadillac, grew up at Joyce and Fifth Avenue, went to East High School. And so I call myself Blomish, a combination of black and Amish. And then at 21 years old, for my first business to purchase to be a tanning salon, with a Blamish guy there, it's like a reality show waiting to happen. But ended up buying this business, and it netted six figures first year in business. I get married this year. I buy my house this year, and everything's going wonderful. And so, long story short, I ended up doing 2 tanning salons in Westerville and New Albany over the next 5 years, just through investor. I had a separate husband and wife investor come to me and put up the money for the Westerville locations. I had those for about 5 years. And then I'm a car guy, so I'd start seeing all these cars roll up. I'd start kind of hanging out in New Albany a little bit, where my first business was, and I'd start seeing these cars, and people would come in, and the first guy is talking about how he owns a manufacturing company with 5 million of EBITDA. I didn't even know what EBITDA meant. And then the next person comes in, they're looking to purchase companies, and I said, man, that sounds similar. It sounds like maybe I should introduce those people to each other. And then the next person comes in, and she owns an apartment complex, and she's looking to sell it. And then the next person comes in, and they're looking to buy a real estate or invest in real estate. And I said, man, I don't know what these people are talking about, but maybe I can introduce them to each other. And so I bought 2 suits and started Columbus Venture Partners in January of 2006 with the premise of just introducing people to each other. I had no clue what they were talking about, but I just knew that I was hearing similar keywords.
Did you know that was valuable to do at the time?
No, absolutely not. And then I thought I had invented something. So I made a couple introductions, and I actually got a check from one of them for making an introduction. And I said, man, I think I've invented like an eHarmony or a Match.com for wealthy people.
Sure.
And then I was having lunch with a friend, and he said, Reese, I think you're a broker. And I was like, what is that? And so I had to, this is before your smartphone had internet on it.
Yeah.
And so I had to go to Panera or Starbucks probably and look it up on my laptop. What's a broker? And I said, man, a broker just makes introductions. I think I'm a broker, but I've never used that word. I've always just, made introductions and just kind of connected wealthy people or, people with similar interests or what.
Yeah. It's not like you're branding as a placement agency or anything like that. It's just, these are introductions.
Just introductions, and everybody that I spend time and introduce to each other are all my friends, people that I've spent time with, vetted, found out that they're a good person with a good heart, trustworthy people. That's like the most important part of making introductions, I think. And so I was making introductions, and my niche kind of turned into family offices, where I've never done a deal with a private equity firm or an investment banking firm, or I've never put myself out as an investment banker. So my niche has always just been ultra high net worth individuals or family offices. And so I started making introductions, it kind of turned into something. I started making money, and just by selling companies, manufacturing or real estate companies. And then in 2018, I took my first job as a business development person for Clark Schaefer Hackett accounting firm. I was 37 years old. All of a sudden, they were paying me twice a month. I had benefits, a corporate card, and I said, what took me so long to get a job? I should have got a job a long time ago. It's too stupid for me to wait. And about 9 months in, U.S. Bank Private Wealth Management approached me and said, hey, we want you to join U.S. Bank. We'll double whatever you're getting paid. Really good offer. So I went to my boss at Clark Schaefer and said, hey, here's the offer I got from U.S. Bank. Unfortunately, it's a lot higher than I think I could ever get paid here. And he said, hey, I get it. That's better for your family. You got to do what you got to do. So January of 2019, I started as the private wealth consultant for U.S. Bank, Cleveland and Columbus. And immediately I was stricken with fear, because I thought to myself, what I don't want to have happen are these relationships that I've spent so much time developing and spending time with people. Now, what U.S. Bank is most likely going to want me to do is just introduce them, my network, to U.S. Bank. We're going to sit there over lunch or Starbucks or wherever, and we're going to say, here's our U.S. Bank products and services. My friends are going to say, I'm not interested, because maybe they already have their own service provider or their own bank or whatever.
It's not like that's the first time they've needed that.
That's right. And a lot of people that are established have their own entourage. They've already have banking and accounting and legal and everything entourage, people.
That's right.
So I said, what can I do to get creative here? Because, they're paying me good money to make introductions. I have to make the introductions, but I don't want to do it the traditional way. And so I started my first event, February of 19, a month after I started at U.S. Bank. And my rule is I'm going to create a social environment, a social event, where it's not the traditional business event. There's no speaker, there's no presentation, there's no call to action. There's no nothing. All we're going to do is socialize with wealthy people, which is going to get us in the right rooms with the right people. And it's going to be a repetitive thing where we're actually going to have these events at least twice a month. So you're actually building relationships with people. There's no rush. If you meet someone this month, that doesn't mean you need to jump right into business with them. You can get to know them, start to date them. So I would actually coach the U.S. Bank people and say, please don't wear your lapel pin. Please don't wear your tie. Dress down, be comfortable. Let's socialize. Let's talk about hobbies. Let's talk about personal things you enjoy to do, your family. Get to know these people and date them. And so that year, that's when I started doing events, and it really blew up. I'd have some events with 200 people, with Whiskey Pete from Brown Foreman and a 5-course, Buffalo Trace tasting with food. At Top Golf, I'd rent, kind of like the short wing there of Top Golf.
Yeah, this is all in Columbus, right?
All in Columbus, and then I started doing parties in Cleveland because I covered both areas for U.S. Bank. And that same year, what happened too is that I actually filled out outside business activity forums with U.S. Bank. And I said, hey, I know that there's a need for a private club for family offices or families with at least 100 million of net worth in Columbus. And because I had known this because there was other groups around the country, but nothing in Columbus. And my friend in Cleveland had already started the Cleveland Area Family Exchange 20 years ago. And he was basically the Cleveland chapter of Forge, which is a member organization of 980 single family offices with 100 million of net worth or higher. And he was the Cleveland chapter for 20 years, but there was no Columbus or Cincinnati chapter. And so I started this chapter in 2019 while I was working at U.S. Bank, but I filled out outside business activity forms, so it would be a personal social club that only me personally was involved in. And so now that group has grown to about 76 members or people that I invite. It's around the country.
Wow.
It's not just local.
Not just local anymore.
No, it's really grown nationally because of Zoom. Any of my Zoom meetings, I actually have a national membership group, and I interview people from around the country. If I do a local meeting, it's usually more localized, but
and
now
those national people, as that network grew, did they echo that same need that we want connection? We want this social space. We haven't been able to find it in our regional markets.
Yes.
Is that the commonality?
That's right. Yeah. And, too, there's another organization, a national organization called Fox, and Fox has grown so big that now they let in families with less than 100 million of net worth. They let in multi-family offices, which most multi-family offices are service organizations trying to find a family office as a client. So it's more of a sales, it's not direct to the family office. They're one under that. And then also Fox lets in associate members. So they let service providers pay to be a member of that organization versus Forge, which my group is a part of in Cleveland, and I'm the Columbus chapter. Forge only lets in 100 millionaires, single family office, and no service providers. The only yahoo in the group is Reese Fields, me, the guy that is not worth $100 million that kind of slipped in, slipped through the system a little bit. So, and I'm not officially a member of Forge legally because I'm not a 100 millionaire.
Yeah.
And so
but you're the glue that holds their community together.
That's right. So they kind of let me participate in a lot of things.
That's an important role.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's right.
I've always loved, your ability to connect with anyone, make people feel comfortable, make people feel at home, feel special. And so that's a gift and something that is definitely special and unique to Reese Fields. And
thank you.
I know I've talked with many of the business owners that you've worked with and had an impact on, and they all say the same thing, that, I love Reese. It's 3 words.
I love to hear that because, it's crazy. As the years go on, they're not making people like they used to. And there's a lot of people that suck my energy. A lot of people I don't want to be around. But I love people. And so, I love to be around really good people. So the requirements of being a friend of mine are quality people that care about others, people that lead with their heart, because most people are about themselves or about money. I've never been about money, even though I grew up broke. I've never been about myself. It's always been about helping others. And it's kind of what my dad taught me. It's just care about others, and and it actually does work. You actually, if you don't put money first and you put others first, you end up making money somehow. But most people just are money focused, and they don't have true relationships. I truly do have really good relationships.
They're transactional. They have a context of executing something, but the friendship, the true, I'm here, I'm connected to you, even if this thing goes nowhere.
That's right. Which 98% of the people that I hang out with, past and in the future, I will never make a dime off of. And that's not a business model that most people can deal with, right? They have a job, they have a business, and they need to sell to a certain person.
Yeah.
They will build relationships with people in that industry. And as soon as that business goes away, they might never call those people again.
Yeah.
Me, they're all my friends that I will hang out with the rest of my life. And like I said, most people, 98% of them probably, I will not make a dime. They're just my friends.
Yeah.
And if there's opportunities as I'm going through the years to make money with one of my friends, let's do it.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm just helping you.
Yeah.
With no expectation of anything.
That notion in business that I may not ever make a dime in any way, shape, or form through our interactions, our time spent together, the things we talk about. That is, in many segments, that's lost. I spent a decade in software on various sides of the coin, working for them, working with them, working alongside them. There is hundreds of thousands, if not more, sellers slinging software, slinging services. And it is ingrained in this culture and it comes top down on them, that if you want to remain in this job, you have to do business because of the pressure. You have to chase it this way, behave this way, and therefore it informs the types of relationships that they form. Yeah. And they know nothing, even if they aspire to. Practically, they don't have or even a context for what you're talking about. Like what you just said is probably off grid. Another language to them.
Right. Right. Most people can't afford it. I couldn't either.
And you couldn't either. That's my point. It's like, you're not doing this because I made $100 million in prior life and I was bored.
Yeah.
Nice. This was your way forward. And that's what's so compelling, that it can be done. You can have relationship and community, and you can transact business in a different way.
That's right. And that's right. And it's too, it's crazy. I continue to have parties, events every week or every other week, usually around guns, bourbon, and cars. It's things that I'm passionate about, but really it's about just bringing people together. But it's amazing. Every week, people thank me from the connections that have been made from, people are doing deals with each other. They're becoming friends with each other. And it just brings me so much joy that a lot of my friends, if they're coming to my event, they have to fit in that category of being my friend, which means someone that loves others, someone that's not there just to make money. So it's amazing every week, the interactions, the connections, and just the network of good people keep on growing, because like I said earlier, they're not making people like they used to. And it's like, us good people got to band together and change the world. And I love that every other week or every week, whenever I'm doing events, it's all good quality people helping each other, and the positive energy, the interactions are just, they bring me joy, and they bring everyone else joy. Yeah. Because it's good people. And I set the stage for my events. I say, listen, you're not coming here to get drunk. If anyone over drinks, you'll get kicked out. If anyone's talking negative about their family, about their spouse, about doing anything bad, you're out. And I'll separately help you. I'll meet with you separately. Sure. And try to coach you and get you back to the point where I can introduce or get you back to my friends to hanging out. But in the meantime, it's all positive people, positive vibes. And I like to set that bar. That expectation. This is how the plane flies through the air. For every first person as a guest, even if my friends bring a guest, I let them know this is the expectation. If you're doing something different, if you're coming to overdrink or coming to try to cheat on your spouse or talk about that, you're out. So it's all good people. It's very unique. Sometimes we're going to wrap things and tie a bow around this whole story here in just a minute, but
Sometimes as a founder, entrepreneur, you feel like you wake up every day and you follow the yellow brick road. You don't know exactly where it's going to take you. And you just you follow your nose. And then things grow and something, comes to life. And you're like, wow, there's something here. I didn't plan it this way, but there's something here. And as things mature and it gets, more resources, more expenses, more people, more planning, more people that depend on you. Now, as we build things, people come to rely on it. As you look out into the future, given where you're at today, let's say 3 years, 2 years, 5, whatever that horizon is, given this is a good fit for Reese, like you're doing the thing that brings you the most joy in the way that it brings you joy.
Yeah.
What does your definition of success look like a few years down the road? What do you aspire and hope it can be or become on the network side? And then secondly, if you could connect it back to your role as a dad and family and what your kids see in you and the impact that it has on them. I know we've talked about family and do our kids know what we do?
Yeah.
Are we the example? Maybe, yeah.
I'm Chandler from Friends, where they never knew what he did for a living. It's like the ongoing joke there on the show Friends. But
what's that future look like?
Yeah, the success on the business side is doing exactly what I'm doing as far as I've always reverse engineered my life, right? I've always had to say, what do I want my life to look like and how can I get there? For me, it's not a money thing. I don't care how much, I don't care if I have zero net worth or $100 million. As long as I have free time and as long as I'm with my family. I work from home, I make my own schedule, I just hang out and help people. That it will never get old. I'll do that until I'm dead. So I will continue to do what I'm doing as far as just helping people and connecting. The great thing about that is that, my network, I do have a lot of family offices, a lot of wealthy people. So it can go in different directions throughout the years. It could be, I buy a company with a family, I'm a partner, I could go in that direction. I could, continue doing deals and making a fee. But the most important part, I think, are the weekly or every other week events that I'm doing. I will always do those no matter what I do in the future. And no matter where my business career path leads me, it's just going to be continuing to connect and help people. I can't get away from it. Every day
it's in your DNA.
It just happens, and I don't care about money, right? So So I'm probably the first phone call for most people, right? They're like, hey, I'm a free resource. I can connect and help. So I'm always going to connect people. I'm always going to help people. The events. Last week I had probably 120 people at the event. The week before that was probably 80. And I've had events sometimes with 200 people. Wow. There is a scale of too many people, so because I can't strategically introduce people at the event once it gets too big. So my goal is, and I've done events sometimes twice in a week throughout the years to break up the parties. So the future for the parties are going to be continuing them, maybe breaking them up, maybe doing twice a week, just so there's not as many people. But that'll always continue. I will always help people. And for my kids, I have 4 kids. My wife is pregnant with her 5th. I'm 42 and she's 41.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I've been together 23 years and married 19 years. And our kids are amazing. They're homeschooled. My wife has 10 years of jujitsu, so she's teaching the kids.
She can take care of herself.
She can take care of me. She got to take care of me too. She's my security guard. Yeah. That's why, as soon as I met her, I was like, thank God, I've been needing some protection. She's my bodyguard. And so she's just an amazing woman that's always supported me. Even when we were in foreclosure, even when we were about to lose everything, she always supported me, never once complained. She has been just an amazing person, in my life.
Good woman.
Just a rock for the kids. And so our kids are good. We're very intentional with them. Our kids are the light, because there's tons of darkness, unfortunately, out here. And our kids are good people that are here to change the world.
A lot of confusion.
Not with our kids.
They need kids to be able to speak clarity amongst their peers.
That's right.
In the midst of that darkness and confusion, because a lot of people don't know who they are, where they came from.
That's right.
Where they're going, why they're here.
It's sad.
What matters. And
it's crazy.
So thank you for telling that story. It's wonderful to hear. Every time we talk, I get another piece of the story.
Snippet, huh?
You know, the puzzle piece, maybe it's 100 pieces on my desk. It's called the Reese story.
Yeah.
You know, we put another piece on the table, and
I haven't even told you the story where I almost died from a smoothie, from a brain freeze. So
no,
I got plenty of material. And it's all true. I got lots of good stuff. You'd love to hear it.
So let's have that be. We'll do the smoothie story,
Yeah.
and then we'll launch the comedy series.
I got
that
plenty
we talked
We're all
about.
my Blamish people. You know, for any black Amish people around the country. I'm starting a little group and I'm starting a comedy tour for
There you go.
I'm gonna come out and open it up and say, we're all my Blamish people. And,
Yeah.
you know, and do like a 2-minute opener for Kevin Hart or something. Yeah. I got some material and it's all true. It's all self-deprecating, you know, and I'm fine with it. I'm cool.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
You're a humble guy, Reese. And on behalf of the business community here in Columbus, and I'm sure I'm speaking the same sentiment for those outside of Central Ohio. Thank you for the work that you do, for who you are. Just keep being you. There's no better version of Reese Fields out there than the one you're being.
Thank God.
And
That's all I got.
and thanks for coming out today to chat.
Thank you for having me.